All right. And away we go. Hopefully Dimitri will be on here soon. He's the bulk of my meeting here, so I hope he comes on soon. Anyways, good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a great start to the day. Where the countdown is on till Apocalypse 2022 for COVID and now the weather coming at us. And yeah, okay. Well, again, we're going to hopefully be running our party this weekend on Thursday for new agents. Everything's kind of up in the air with that. So oops, there's our party. No. Wow, slides are way up. There's our party slide. So if you haven't heard, we're doing a new agent welcome party on April 14th, which is this Thursday from 2 to 4 at Earl's Polo. We're keeping this up in the air at this point. We're going to see what this storm is looking like here. If it's as bad as they're telling us it is, we will postpone. I think we have a rain date for next snow date for next week, Thursday, just 1 week later. But we will confirm those details with you no later than tomorrow once we kind of see what is going on here with our wonderful storm. All right. So also, while we're on this, I want to talk with new agents. Welcome. A bunch of new agents that kind of got licensed finally with Securities Commission. I guess they got off their horse and started approving some applications. So we have Murray Zolkowski, Jazz Gill, Jamin Patel, Vince Gamboa, Hayden Ellis, and Kyle Lind. Welcome, welcome, welcome to all those wonderful new agents. Sorry, Hayden, I did have to go onto your Facebook profile and steal a picture from you, your wife's head or girlfriend's head or fiance's head. So I apologize for that. Also, just so you know, Vince Gamboa is joining Mark Hebert on his team, and Kyle Lind will be with the Goodfellow Lind group. So again, welcome to all those wonderful new agents, and we're hoping to see you this Thursday in party. If not, maybe the week after. We'll keep you posted and see how those things go. Also, a reminder: check out the agenda in the agenda that I sent out. The links are to watch and download the slides for our marketing meeting that we had last week with Jason. Smart Marketing Made Easy. I took in the vast majority of it. I had to run for the end, but it was awesome. If you guys didn't take it, you're missing out. If you get snowed in for the next 2 days, you got something to watch. It's a lot of great content. It's in detail, it's in depth. He gets technical on even how to do things. Here's what to click, slides for click-throughs for Google ads. He had from how to make TikToks, all that kind of stuff. So definitely check it out. It's very robust. It's very on point with today's marketing. So make sure you check that out if you haven't already done so. There's also, again, over the next few days here, a bunch of different opportunities to do some learning with Royal Page Learning Services, 7 strategies to nurture your business. We've got the Sphere Training Circuit, Post with Purpose and Get Noticed with the marketing workshop, and a welcome to Royal Page for any of the brand new agents getting familiar with Royal Page. You can check those out at Royal Page, rlpnetwork.com/training. Dimitri, the house, again, our wonderful recurring voice of reason and wisdom. Dimitri, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm very good. How are you guys?
We're all doing very well here. Again, we're preparing for the end of the world. So I don't know about you, I got a freezer full of frozen pizza downstairs for our kids. So I think I'll be just fine for the next couple of days, but if we do get snowed in. So how about you? Any panic at your house?
Oh yeah, actually we went to the local IGA actually yesterday. There were lineups out the door. It's unbelievable. The storm of the century apparently, right?
Yeah,
I'll believe it when I see it. You know how it is, right?
yeah, exactly. I'm with you on that one. So what do you want to do, Dimitri? Do you want to talk? There's lots of news going on in the mortgage world and federal budget and things like that. What do you want to talk about first? You want to do mortgages or budget?
Oh man, let's go federal budget, I guess. Yeah, a billion news
Okay,
articles have been posted
cool.
over the last week about this. Yeah, like quite a
Yeah.
few new things are coming out. I mean, this one, I guess the tax-free first home savings account is actually a pretty interesting tool, to be honest with you. I would say out of all the things that were announced, this is one that I think will probably have the most impact to kind of like your typical first-time buyer. The main thing I'll
Yeah.
just say about this, I'm sure everyone's read it, is it's really kind of interesting how you can basically get a tax deduction on your contribution and then get the withdrawal tax free without a repayment requirement, which is the main difference with the RSP first time buyer program, and also, better than a TFSA in a sense, because the TFSA doesn't provide the tax deduction. So this should be a good thing. I was actually told from a couple of old time CIBCers, some 35-year staff, that there was a program was like this, I guess, back in the day. So I mean, if you have any very experienced
Oh,
realtors on the team, they might know about this. I didn't know anything about it. So I guess there was a very similar program done many years ago that was, for whatever reason, discontinued, and so on and so forth. But yeah, this is great. This is a definite positive, I think, overall for clients. Yeah, absolutely. So did you want to go kind of slide by slide on a few things that you included,
yeah,
or?
I got a few of them brought up, or wherever we can talk about them. There's some that are more interesting than others. I thought this one, I agree with you, is pretty, it's a great option for first time buyers. I would love to, for anybody here, like when they table these budgets, right, they don't always, some of the things are proposed, they don't necessarily are in effect immediately, right? I think this one, they have to start, it doesn't start till 2023, right? Will be available in 2023. So you can't just go start doing this right now. There's an $8,000 limit annually. So it's not like, you can go just dump in a bunch of 40K today. It's designed to, have that kind of low build over time. So, but it is a good thing, it's a good place for, again, any tax-free money is rare to find these days. So take advantage of as much tax-free stuff as you want. I was curious to see though, if, and I just don't have the answer on it quite yet. And maybe, I don't know if you've heard, but for parents, let's say if you wanted to give your kid that money or whatever it is, if that affects anything, or does the kid actually have to have it? But it says you have to be over 17, I think it is, right? So I was like, oh, I could just start putting $8,000 into my kids' my kids' accounts right now, and then by the time they're, whatever, of home buying age, they'll have a fat stack. But it doesn't look like that. I think you have to be over 17. But I'm curious how parents can get involved. Have you heard about that at all, or if parents can just give the kids money, or what's the?
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. The parent, I mean, certainly, like the actual source of the original contributions isn't important per se. Like the parents could definitely do it. The only thing is that these accounts are going to be under the name of the child. So the thing is, for example, they're not joint accounts. So for example, I mean, just from my years in the branch dealing with banking clients on a day-to-day basis like that, oftentimes parents want a bit more control. Like for example, when you open up an RESP for a client for education savings, it's actually under like the parents. It's not under the child. So the parents can contribute, the parents can track their investing. It's like a very specific thing. This program, the challenge is that because the account has to be under the actual name of the child, the trick is the kid could, in theory, just come into the bank and withdraw the money, and then there's like some tax actually issues with that if you withdraw without being a first-time buyer. But sometimes kids don't care, So it's one of those things that might be a bit of a
Right.
drawback actually for parents providing significant contributions directly to kids. I guess it depends on the kid. But that's the one thing specifically that's come up in kind of our meetings that, yeah, you got to be kind of careful
Right.
of that. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. So that's the tax-free first home savings account. Geez, it's a mouthful. And then a couple other ones here on the first time home buyer side of things. They are expanding the home buyer's tax credit, right? The first time home buyer's tax credit, right, up to $1,500 instead of $750. So that seems to, and also to double the amount. Sorry, my floating head here is in the way of my reading. And the tax credit up to 10,000 from 5,000. So that's new. Any comments on that, Dimitri? Or
Yeah, I mean, well, with the tax credit, I mean, that's just extra cash. I mean, that's kind of the nice thing about that. I mean, that's just a little bit of extra money for first-time buyers. The truth is, the existing tax credit at I think about $750 max benefit to first-time buyers was, it's a nice thing, but I would find generally speaking, it wasn't really a huge cost benefit to the client to buy a house or not. Even this, I'm not sure is going to be that awesome, but hey, whatever. At $1,500, it helps buy furniture. There are still some incentives. So, I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's just not like a dramatic change. I mean, I would say though, the comment below about the more flexible first time homebuyer incentive, we don't know exactly what that means yet. That is going to be hopefully a very good thing because the current incentive, frankly, from a financial perspective, just isn't a very good deal for clients. So we'll just kind of, the only time we ever use the incentive in my world, or we offer it to clients kind of proactively, is when they need it to qualify. you know, otherwise there really isn't any benefit to take it because, you know, usually someone's home is appreciating in value at a higher rate than the interest rate on their mortgage. And so it's better off to just borrow the money from the bank. There's really no reason to use the government's
Yeah.
incentive unless you literally need to buy that house, you know.
Right.
So
So I just want to apologize because that was, I even forgot about that one. Because it was
right.
so, I remember when it came out. So maybe just one, just for those, maybe some newer agents on here who don't know what that actual first time home buyer incentive program is. You can just go over what it was when did that come out again? A year or two ago? I can't remember, but
Oh, yeah.
maybe
19, I
longer.
think. 19, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that was when the government wanted to basically partner with you and have equity in your home.
Yeah,
Ew.
exactly.
Anyway, so maybe, sorry, I'm putting words in your mouth. Maybe just to quickly explain what that first time home buyer incentive is currently and why it's not really widely used again.
Yeah, no worries. So
Could you
basically,
educate me on what it currently is? Yeah.
oh yeah, all good, all good. Yeah, I mean the rule of thumb with the current incentive is that the government will give you either 5 or 10% of the essentially of the down payment toward a purchase. So it's 5% on resale properties or up to 10% on new builds. You can attain with the incentive. Now the trick is though that it's not free per se. So what's provided is upfront cash to help close the purchase with that additional down payment. The initial benefit is that it provides a lower CMHC premium because you have more down, you have a lower mortgage, you have lower payments and lower interest costs. So those things all seem like fantastic offers. The drawback is though is that when you go to sell the property or pay off the mortgage, you actually have to pay back the government whatever percentage you took, whether it's 5 or 10% or whatever, of the incentive at these times at the value of the property at the time you pay it back. You know, so what ends up happening is, as we've seen, if we have like a 10-20% inflation in real estate, you're going to pay back 10 or 20% more than what the government gave you to help at the initial time of purchase. So, and the trick is there's like literally no way around it. It's like the government basically has an ownership stake in your home. They take a second position on title. So the idea is
Yeah.
when you let's it's more commonly going to be used when a home is sold, right? So when a home is sold, your lawyer is going to discharge your existing lender's mortgage. They're going to discharge the incentive at the same time, and there's a process involved of like ascertaining the value of the home if you sell it based on, of course, what you sold it for. So the lawyer provides proof to the government. There's like there's a whole process to it. But the long story short is that you're paying back more than you were given. And the amount you're paying back more is, you know, notably more than realistically borrowing the money at the bank. So for example, you don't use the incentive, you take a 5% down payment and you simply just borrow 95% of the home's value. The only cost to you is going to be the interest rate. Right. So the
Mhm.
thing is, if you're paying, you know, I mean, depending on, well, rates now are not as attractive as they were, but if you're paying in the 3%, but your home value is going up, you know, by anywhere from 5 to 15% or whatever the case may be, there's significantly, you know, like more cost to use the incentive program. So, I mean, we at the bank, frankly, the banks have been lobbying, frankly, against this since it was launched because it really became very cumbersome and not very beneficial to clients. So this
Yeah.
is kind of finally going to be better. Hope is there's going to be one major change. We'll see. Change being that the repayment will be what you got, right? That's the change we're
Ah,
looking for.
right.
If the government, if you bought a house for 300K, the government gives you $15,000 incentive when you sell the property for 400K in 8 years or whatever, that you pay back $15,000. If they do that, hey, fantastic. Let's offer it proactively. But that's kind of the main thing we're hoping to see.
Yeah.
But we'll find out.
Yeah. No, I agree. I remember when it came out and I cautioned people about having the federal government be a part and own part of your home. Uh, you know, I don't know. I want less government, not more. But nonetheless,
Fair
thanks
enough.
for giving us that update. We'll see if it was, yeah, a complete matching program. That'd be interesting. But also, I don't know for what it's worth. These ones, there's a couple other measures coming up here we'll talk about, but these ones really address first-time home buyers and help affordability, which is good. However, it doesn't necessarily address the problem of supply, right? I don't think this doesn't help. They call it affordable housing. It gives people more money to play with. It doesn't exactly help house prices, that's for sure. But it does give some means for first-time buyers to potentially spend more money. So I guess that's good for realtors, but
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
so I'll maybe, you know, there's additional housing support, you know, another one-time $500 payment for affordability challenges. This is one that got some headway, right? Some headlines, I should say. The ban on foreign investment in housing, right? So there again, this is a proposal. It's not, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Dimitri, it's not in stone today, right? It's proposed that they're going to ban non not Canadian citizens or not permanent residents from acquiring non-recreational residential property in Canada for 2 years. So exemptions are for refugees, international students on the path to permanent residency, and individuals on work permits who are residing in Canada. So Dimitri, who is this? Maybe you could say, who is this really targeted at, and how do you see this? Is this going to have a big effect on the market? How is this? What's your take on this one?
That's a good question. Yeah, like I would say, so generally speaking, I'm not really sure what impact it'll have in a market like Winnipeg, to be honest, where we don't see the kind of large scale foreign investment buying that you might see in Vancouver, Toronto, etc. The main thing to know with these deals is this is what we describe as true foreign purchasing, where there is no bank involved. Like this is where you have a foreign entity purchasing real estate in essentially cash. They're financing it outside the country if they're financing it at all. And the idea is they're simply buying it as part of a hedge fund or a portfolio, or an individual buyer is using it to basically just build real estate wealth in Canada. As we know, I mean, and any of us that own homes, we've benefited from the rise in real estate values, but the trick is many investors are basically helping push those prices up. And so the idea is that this is kind of, frankly, a long time coming, I think, in the sense that we've seen an increase through the COVID pandemic of individuals outside Canada buying real estate. So all they're really doing is hiring Canadian lawyers to facilitate like cash infusions into Canada, and then they're just buying real estate and holding them. That's it. Now, what we were told at the bank, like Jamie Goldbeck, one of our chief economists, indicated that what we saw at CIBC from a tracking perspective is it was actually a lot more in commercial real estate, though. So like, basically like, someone buying, a strip mall because in COVID it was closed, so the value dropped. And so like a hedge fund would buy a strip mall in Toronto or something at a lower value, and then basically include it in like a REIT, a real estate investment trust. So I'm not sure if I'm getting a little bit in the weeds here, but the idea is that real estate investment trusts are very large in Canada, actually, and definitely throughout the world. And so the idea is that Canadian REITs are very attractive for a lot of like mutual funds and those types of sources. So this definitely appears to be more targeted toward like the very affluent, high value and sort of corporate purchasing. And the truth is they were buying a lot of residential real estate too during the pandemic. So this is kind of addressing that particular issue. But now, to be honest, all of our like, to the point in the kind of the lower half of that paragraph, there's no difference though to the way the banks are handling newcomers to Canada. This is not impacting those policies at all. So
yeah, absolutely. And the articles that I've read on that, and again, from what I understand from Winnipeg as well, is there's not these massive conglomerates out there, from China or wherever, just buying residential real estate, right? Our residential market, for those of you who are just out there, residential market, helping buyers and sellers sell, this isn't really going to affect them. I know articles came out of Calgary, out of Toronto as well. It's not really going to affect that type of part of the market when the vast majority of those buyers are Canadian residents. They're living here, they're having babies, wanting bigger homes, that kind of thing. So I don't expect a huge amount of change there, but you're right, on the REIT side of things, it could affect some of them and those big, those bigger commercial enterprises. So multi-generational home renovation tax credit. So this one, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this stuff, but basically you're looking at constructing a secondary dwelling unit for a senior or a person with a disability. There's could be some credit available. So if you're renovating your house for family, or to help to a senior or in-law, something like that, you could get $7,500 for credit for renovations, which covers your countertop basically. But it's just, I don't know if these guys have renovated them lately, but $7,500 doesn't get you very far. But nonetheless, it's there. Accessibility credit as well. So they've raised that to double the expense limit for home accessibility. I don't even know what the tax credit is. Do you know what that is for? So this is, for renovations again, affecting to accessibility, right? So ramps, riding doorways for wheelchairs, etc., things like that. Are you up on any of those, or did I miss anything on that?
No, I think what you're saying makes sense. It's just people that are claiming expenses on their income taxes. So it's kind of, absolutely.
Yeah. Gotcha. Cool. Anyways, that's kind of the update on the federal budget. So if there's any questions, the Q&A. But Dimitri, how about what's going on with rates right now? Because I know that's there's supposed to be more stuff happening, I believe.
Yeah, hot button topic. Yeah, what a gong show with rates. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I guess we're seeing rates continue to climb. The aggressiveness in the rising rates has been kind of cooling a little bit the last couple of weeks, but basically every week we saw rates jump anywhere from 10 to 40 basis points depending on the term. So the biggest jump in rates I've ever seen, and I've done mortgage lending for about 15, 16 years now, so pretty significant. In the U.S., long-term rates have now exceeded 5%. So we're basically being told to expect fixed rates to continue to climb in Canada. We're not sure when. We're basically waiting for the government to announce the prime rate change over the next few days or so here. I think what we're probably going to see is if we do see a 0.5% increase in the prime, which is now more or less priced into current long-term rates. If that's the case, then we probably will see fixed rates break 4%. Over the next couple of weeks after that. So obviously, look, as a real estate agent, what I always say about realtors is you are a financial advisor. That's what you do. You're helping clients deal with the most expensive purchase of their what the idea is, what they pay and how they understand the financing situation is very important. Really spoken to, funny enough, like a lot of clients over the last month that are really quite unaware of sort of the trend in rates and not seeing that. So I would suggest for real estate agents with talking to especially first-time buyers, even repeat buyers, but less so with them. They're more experienced with this process, but kind of just say, hey, listen, are you aware of what's happening in the mortgage environment? Like, what have you heard from your mortgage lender, broker, advisor, whatever, just so that you can get a really good sense of what you're doing. Because I think on the last call I was on a few weeks ago, we are talking a lot about rate holds, and man, are those important right now. Like, holy moly. I've run into a lot of situations where clients were pre-approved in February and then buy a home. They went to a different lender, and then they were recommended to me, let's say, and then I speak to them, and they're like, "Oh man, that's a lot higher rate than I was quoted before." I'm like, "Well, make sure you had a rate hold at your current lender," and then they call me back 3 days later saying, "I didn't have a rate hold to that lender. Oh no." And so it's kind of an unfortunate situation. I mean, kind of good for me, but bad for the client. So it's one of those things where that's actually really important. Like oftentimes, even on our own pre-approval letters, we don't really indicate that information on the document just to avoid privacy and some issues like that, depending on what the client's doing financially. But just whatever. As a realtor, you're not required to do this, okay? But important to note that. Now, one thing I wanted to add to this though is that these higher rates are impacting the stress test calculations on pre-approvals. Okay, so that's something that a lot of people don't realize. So the stress test on a mortgage is 5.25% or 2% above the client's interest rate. Okay, so for example, whatever's higher. So if a client's getting a 3.5% interest rate, their stress test is now 5.5%. If they're doing a fixed mortgage. So the idea is they can actually borrow less money now, technically, because of this. And the higher the fixed rates go, the more impact that's going to have on stress tests and borrowing, assuming they take a fixed rate. Now, variable rates are still well below these rates. So I actually had one client take a variable rate purely for qualifying. Because they just when I offered them fixed, they actually had a bit of a difference, about $20,000 difference in the pre-approval. So, that was a bit of a nuisance for the client. So they went variable, and then they might early renew into a fixed if they prefer to, if the rates keep going up later. But this is something you might want to see too. Like if you have a pre-approval from a client from January, right, or something, and usually those are 120 days, and those rates are expiring. When their lender goes to redo their pre-approval at today's rates, they may be able to borrow less money unless they restructure the mortgage in a certain way. So that's something to definitely be aware of as you have these clients, right? The market's still crazy, like it's tough to buy. So a lot of times these initial rate holds that they're being given on the first pre-Qs are expiring right now from what they got in the winter. And so just be aware of this possibility affecting clients. One last thing I wanted to mention is that as a side note, if we do see rates go to like the mid or high fours, even into the fives, that's going to be a significant stress test. We're talking like a 7% stress test, which is going to be about a 40% increase in borrowing cost in terms of how the bank estimates affordability for clients. That would have a substantial difference on pre-approvals, which would realistically affect the demand metrics that are happening in housing. And just to be clear, not to be an economics nerd here, but I think that's why I was invited. But just to give you an example, like that is actually more or less what the Bank of Canada is thinking about trying to do here. Okay, so the goal is to try to get the stress test high enough that it would potentially impact demand. The goal isn't to kill the housing market, right? It's just to basically try to take the edge off of the extreme levels of demand that we're seeing. And we're kind of fortunate in
Yeah.
Canada and the US to some degree where, you know, the central banks are fairly cautious and they don't want to necessarily do things that are so egregious that they might, you know, affect the economy in an extreme way. Anyway, so like there's a lot of things to be considered there. So as a realtor, be very careful of this. So if you have clients that want to go no conditions and they haven't talked to their lender in 6 months or things like that, and they are using a bank, like it's not a straight cash offer, it's time to double check those pre-approvals right now. So
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great advice.
right on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You pretty much answered all my questions. I'll see if there's anyone, does anybody have any questions you want to throw in, either to me or to Dimitri, throw it in the Q&A or in the chat. Rotimi did ask about if we had statistics on foreign buyers in the last 2 to 3 years. I don't have any, again, I put in the chat, I don't have anything handy. I'm not sure if anything was shared with you guys, Dimitri, at your level. Also at the broker's level, we don't track, that as far as you know, whether they're citizens or not, but it's pretty uncommon to have, again, somebody who's straight. There's usually some sort of family tie, family connection. They're coming here or they're buying for. Actually, that's a good question. Do we back on that on the foreign ban? Did you know, like, if it's, hey, my kid is living here, I'm still living elsewhere, I'm abroad, I'm overseas, my kid's going to school here, can I go buy them a house? I mean, I don't think that's what they're targeting, right, with this ban, or
Yeah, no,
am I wrong?
it's a great question. I think you're basically exactly right. So, for example, as long as someone is basically like on one of those categories, they're on a certain permit, right? They're on a work permit or PR, or in some cases, student permit.
Mhm.
And the clients can purchase real estate in Canada, actually. Like so, like it's so the idea of, like, for example, we see quite a bit of it at actually our Keniston Commons CIBC, where, for example, a client is from, you know, like often an Asian country like Vietnam, China, etc., and they're studying at U of M, right? So they're kind of like they're living near U of M, and it's fairly common for the parent to say, you know what I'm going to do? I don't really, there's no point for my kid to rent. I'm going to actually transfer X amount of dollars into Canada, and then we're just going to basically buy a home for them. That's actually reasonable to do. The money's got to be in Canada for 30 days
Yeah.
in this example, as opposed to your typical 90. And then we basically treat it as what's called an actuated gift. So the idea is we can still sort of find where the money came from. We believe there's an obvious purpose for what the money's for because someone's in Canada, right? But it doesn't mean that that individual is basically stuck here, right? I mean, they're on a permit, they can still leave. So yeah, that's not going to change necessarily, right? So those clients can still potentially buy in Canada, and for in the cases of work permits and, you know, and obviously PRs, there's also, you know, typical mortgage financing is available for pretty much all those cases, depending on if they're working or not. And there's some few variables. Some of those deals have become harder and harder to write, to be honest, especially if the client isn't working in Canada. But just throwing that out there, that, you know, that hasn't changed. So if you're an agent working with a lot of new immigrants, there's no difference here unless you're working with a much more affluent sort of like complete foreign entity, and you're facilitating straight foreign purchases, which frankly were a lot more common actually over the last decade than they are now. So
Yeah. Another question came in here. It says, for a refinance on current revenue property, can a client get a pre-approval for 90 days at the current rate?
yeah, I mean, potentially. So it depends if the deal's free and clear or not, right? So for example, if it's a refinance, typically what's going to happen is we'll do a blend, right? So if the client's in a term, they're often doing a midterm refinancing. So they did a 5-year rate 3 years ago. We're going to add 70 grand to that mortgage, right? And we're just going to do a blend based on today's rates on the new funds and average the two rates together to give them kind of a revised interest rate. If, for example, the deal's up for renewal, then it's a different ball game. So they don't get a 90-day rate hold for that. If it's a refi, they can basically they can early renew the mortgage. But banks, you know, it varies bank to bank. Like we'll typically honor rates for up to 2 weeks on renewals. There's no 120-day holds on actual straight like renewal transactions and that sort of thing. No, it's only on a purchase or a purchase and sale situation, or like someone's transferring a mortgage in from a competitor, like that sort of thing, where there's more need for a longer rate hold. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Alrighty, I'll give it a quick sec here for any other questions that may come in. But in the meantime, I will slowly, again, thank you very much for coming in. And you know what, you're fresh to Daisy for being out late at a concert last night. Good for you.
Oh, it's a good time. I don't know. I saw Cheryl Zest actually post on Instagram that she was at the Slipknot show. That was a great time. So for any metalheads, yeah, definitely worth it. Absolutely. Right
Yeah,
on.
gotcha.
All right, well, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. And congrats to all
Okay,
the March top producers. And yeah, I hope to be on here again soon, guys. Take good care. Have a good April.
you bet. Thanks, Dimitri. Oops. That is the wrong presentation. There we go. Okay, just a few other reminders. Talked to in our staff meeting that we had yesterday. Some things came up with the staff that just wanted me to ask you guys to remind you about. Don't forget your snow pants. Yes. Okay, some reminders. Number one, just double check those deals for accuracy. This is whether you're an agent, a team lead, administration, whatever it is. We've had some. I'll just let you guys know when there's mistakes on air. We had I guess there was a trade sheet that had the wrong agent on it, the wrong outside agent. So that really messes things up when you communicate with another brokerage that doesn't actually have the file. So let's just make sure we double down on accuracy, make sure those deal sheets are done. That helps speed up the entire wheel that we have here at Royal LePage Prime and out of all of our locations. Everything goes nicely when trade sheets are accurate and filled completely. Again, your professionalism does not end once the offer is signed, right? Also, I really shouldn't have to remind you guys this, but it happens more often than you might think. Listing contracts, you need to hand them in. You don't keep them until there's a deal, or you don't just, or you can't actually advertise properties well for sale without a listing contract. It's illegal. It's against the law. It is against the Brokers or Services Act, I should say. Okay, so you need to have listing contracts. There's no advertising selling homes without one, unless it's an exclusive, which in that case, we should have an exclusive listing contract, right? Hand those in the office within 24 hours of taking the listing, please. Other thing is service agreements. I know we all love them so much, but a reminder, you do owe that when you have one signed and executed, right? Send it in, and then you'll have to send it again when you get a deal done, right? For a basic reason is we don't know. You do a service agreement, you start looking with the buyer. 6 months go by, 15 offers go by. We don't, and then you hand in the completed deal. We're not going to have to go back and look and all that kind of stuff. It's impossible to go find. So please hand it in again. It should be saved on your email and your files. So just hand it in again. So once upon signing, and again when the deal is handed in. Also, just one other little reminder: please use the correct office email when you are handing in your deal. So either docs or at Portage or at Keniston, royallepage.ca. Use those emails, and then please don't CC other staff. So if you're sending it to docs at Royal LePage, don't CC Annie or Bella or anything like that, because they get double emails and it gets confusing. Just send it into the right email. We got it. We promise we'll take care of it. Love you guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. Lastly, please hand in any personal GST numbers before the end of the week so that we can get your personal GST done. Just wanted to refresh everyone's memory or enlighten those who may not know, but we have every year, started last year was our first one, but we called our Primetime Advisory Committee. This is a group of wonderful volunteer individuals who meet with management and operations several times throughout the year to discuss how we can make Prime better. What can we do for you? We float some ideas by them. What can we do to make your lives and your businesses better and make it easier? And so we had a meeting. Those are the committee members. You can look at the hub as well. We post our agendas up on the hub and the committee members. So if you have any questions, if you have any you want to question some things, or you want to make some suggestions, my door is always open, but as well, if you want to talk directly to a committee member, you can do that, and they can bring it up at our committee meetings. So I just want to met on Friday of last week, so I'll just kind of go over a little bit of the agenda, what was discussed, and so you guys are kind of just kept in the loop. And if you have any questions, feedback, or you want to chime in on any of these things, please feel free to do so, either to myself, to Cassandra, or to one of the committee members. So one of the things we talked about was upcoming events, right? We talked about the new agent welcome party. We got some ideas on how to make it a little extra fun if it actually happens this Thursday. If it doesn't happen this Thursday, again, we will get a new date for you guys. Talked about a family day in summer, got some ideas on what we could possibly do for a family day. Now, for those of you who don't know about family day, what we usually do is a big party in the summer, right? And it's more kid and family oriented as opposed to, evening out booze fest. So it's for families. We have lots of fun. And again, that we have a very big families now, and we're hoping for outdoorsy and looking at some ideas for that. So again, if anyone has any ideas, feel free to share. We talked about some of the market challenges, what's facing our agents right now. So one of the things that came up, sorry, I have to get my chat open here. Candy scramble. Candy scrambles are fun. We could definitely look at that. The market challenges, one of the things that came up was just an opportunity to, a lot of our new agents, it's tough right now, especially for new agents working with buyers, et cetera. And the listing inventory is down. It's hard to get listings. We know that. It's hard for everyone to get listings right now. So one of the ideas that came out in the group was to create an agent pool for sharing listings. So as an example, it will most likely be a spreadsheet on the hub. But if you want to be an agent saying, hey, any of my listings, any agent can grab, share on social media, put on Facebook, whatever, and just give credit to the listing agent. We're kind of going to create a pool so that new agents don't have to, because one of the tactics that we even train is for a new agent to go out there, meet other agents and see if there's other listings that they can help advertise and promote, right? To get some inventory and get some, it's good for our sellers as well to have as many eyeballs on the property as possible. At the same time, agents, I understand, don't always want to be contacted every day by an agent asking for listings. So we're going to kind of create a pool for sharing listings. If there's an agent who's like, yep, absolutely, put my listings up there and you can take it and share it with credit. We're going to kind of create a little pool. So we'll help, again, create some more exposure for our listings, for our customers, and as well for new agents giving stuff to advertise, or any agent for that matter. We looked at as well, we talked about service agreements, and there's been some requests to sometimes to help with some buyers, particularly, or even sellers who have resistance towards signing a service agreement. And so we're going to create some customers facing information, video, or give you a script to talk to your customers about getting into service agreements, because the stuff at Maria level isn't wonderful. So we're going to kind of talk about, hey, this isn't a contract. This is why we're asking you to sign it. So just sign the bloody thing so we can move on with our lives. And so we're going to create some content to help you guys with service agreements. From the back end processing, things like that, it's a bunch of feedback that we talked about. We're discussing direct deposit for commission checks. I'll also say for anybody with assistants, and all of our staff will be going to a direct deposit method, and for unlicensed assistants as well. So stay tuned to those changes, which will be coming up in a few weeks. Keep you posted. The discussion came about credit card payments, of using credit cards to pay off accounts and things like that, so you guys can get extra points. And as well, the PREC, the next steps once the applications are starting to get approved. How do these things need to be advertised? How do these things need to be put on offers, et cetera? And so we're just putting together some of those next steps there on the back end processing thing. There's some other stuff coming down the pipe later in the year, which we'll bring to your attention, but that's what was discussed at this meeting. And as well, on the marketing side of things, looking at maybe even just smoothing out the ordering process, quick items like business cards, feature sheets. We're looking at creating sort of an online, call it potentially like Vistaprint almost kind of thing, and but with obviously our branding and templates, you just kind of go click, clickety clack, fill in your customization and order. And we're looking at renegotiating some with our suppliers there for lower printing costs, et cetera. And looking at, again, just how we can make it kind of ties into the easy order process, improve turnaround time on some projects and things like that. So again, that was a kind of, we went into some other nitty gritty stuff, but that was some of the highlights that we discussed at the advisory committee meeting on Friday. So again, if you have any questions or chat or anything like that at all, or want any comments or feedback, ideas sharing, remember that is our wonderful committee this year. And so reach out to any one of those, and we'll be able to get your suggestions looked at. And again, we want to make this why we have this committee. Again, why these guys are volunteering their time on their busy schedules is to make Prime better and make Prime better for you. So we can't do that. I can't answer any prayers without knowing what your prayer requests are. So make them known. Also, I just want to give a quick plug for next week. We got a Rookie of the Year panel. So these are all of the Rookies of the Year for 2021 at Royal LePage. Miriam Hargraves out of Quebec. And she also won the national award. Ryan Elliott out of the East Coast, our very own Anna Rule for the Prairie region, Wendell Bautista out of BC, and Abe Thiessen, Rookie of the Year in Ontario. So we're actually going to have them all on a Zoom call, and we're going to be having a little panel interview. I'm going to guide them through some questions. We're going to open up to your Q&A as well. So I think it'd be pretty cool, pretty new. Again, these guys this is no small feat to get Rookie of the Year for these entire regions. And especially I'll give a special props to our own Anna Rule and as well to Miriam for winning the national award. Congratulations to everybody. And we're going to pick their brains on how they got started, what the challenges they found, how they're learning, what mistakes they've made, all those kind of things. And again, mainly how they got off to such a great start. So that's going to be cool. So check out next week. It's going to basically be the agenda. There won't be too much other stuff other than that, but that's at our usual Ignite meeting time at 10:30 next week, Tuesday. Make sure you're there for that and come loaded with some questions for these guys. Try to trip them up. Last reminders, stay tuned for the New Agent Welcome Party. Keep it posted. All right. Special shout out to Thomas Katz from RBC and Sarah Castellano, who's going to be sponsoring that one. Webinars galore, and check the agenda. Check out the Jason Pantana marketing video. You got some time while you're snowed in the next couple of days. Make sure you check that out. It's fantastic. All right, that is it. That is all for this week. Have a wonderful week. Stay warm, stay safe, stay dry. I'm not sure. Stay cool, stay classy, and hopefully we'll see you on Thursday. We'll stay tuned. Ciao, gang.